Let's get this landing page party started. All right, thanks everyone for being here. I'm really excited that a bunch of people have showed up because this is what we wanted. We wanted to have more minds on this project to get this going. So I'll show you what we're going to be working on today. So as you know, we're going to be moving from Teachable over to Kajabi. And so this is a very rough start to what is going to be basically the autonomy landing page on Kajabi. So this is what we have so far. And this was, I think, what Joshua just kind of whipped together as like a placeholder. So we've got these. So sorry, knife for life. Seeking more meaning and substance and competence in your life, and boom. So that's all that's going on right now. And we can take elements from the long form landing page and work those in. That's definitely, there's a lot of really good pieces to this that we can work in. And how do you want to do this, Agnieszka? I did actually.
I'm just looking up elements of a perfect landing page 20 just to see if we can go step by step according to this little key here.
I have this from Sabri Subi that we have implemented. So our 17-step sales page. So we got, and this is based off of Sabri Subi's Sell Like Crazy. All of these steps are laid out in his book, and then we've been using this for a while now. So we got, you want to call out your.
Can we have a copy of this document so we can refer to it on the other screen while we're talking about the next step?
What's that?
Can we have this document?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let me make sure that it is shareable. Yes.
Because I want to be able to look at it on this screen while I'm looking at the next copy on the other screen, right?
Totally.
Refer to it back and forth at my leisure.
Do I have to stop sharing to chat? Oh, there we go. Chat. Boom.
Boom.
Boom. Should we run through these before we get started? Cool.
Sure.
All right, so first step is calling out your audience, and really that's like the attention grabbing headline. So you want something that's really going to speak to the people that you want to be speaking to. It's the first thing that people see. You want something that speaks to them directly and evokes curiosity and a desire to keep reading. Demand their attention with a big promise headline. So as like, I want to say we have, show it like an example. Well, that's not what I was going to show you. So we'll just go back. You know how sometimes you'll see the big grand headline, and right above it is like a small line that's acknowledging the people that you're trying to speak to. Maybe even like in the 19 skills, for example. It's a good example where we have this. So like this would be that calling out your audience, for example. So you're calling out who you want to be speaking to, and then demanding their attention, that's your big promise headline. Backing up your promise with a straightforward explanation. And then creating irresistible intrigue. So how he presents it is to come up with like 20 additional headlines and then trim them down to the best 6, with each one calling out the different hopes, dreams, and challenges of your target audience. And these will be your intriguing benefit bullet points. And that's really good too, to have those benefit statements really close up to the top. It's really easy for people's eyes and minds to digest when it's laid out that way.
Hang on a second for just a second. What are the hopes and dreams of our target audience, which is us essentially? But
well, we could look at our Halo research.
Let's
see.
And by the way, I don't know what it is, but when I use a pen and I write little notes during a meeting and stuff, it seems like there is something more that happens in my brain than just typing it up.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say there is. I've been testing it. I remember it more and it connects better with other ideas somehow. I don't know how to say it, how to explain it.
Been trying that myself, actually.
For me?
I've been trying that myself, actually, because I'm used to taking notes on computer or like a phone, but I've been trying it on like a actual piece of paper now.
Yeah, definitely better to write it out,
Mm-hmm.
even if you never look at it again.
And I get these. I get
10 times as much synapses as the computer version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, LCD screens will just hijack your brain.
So there is another thing that I read in a document from like 5,000 years ago or something. And they said that when you want to write about mathematical stuff, whatever, use a red pen because that cements it in your mind in a different way. When you want to write about ideas and stuff, use a blue pen because that's what makes the ideas flow. And if you want to perform necromancy, use a black pen.
Oh, nice.
That's what it said. I'm not responsible for what it said.
Right.
Interesting.
But yeah, to make your writing more magical or whatever. Ever since then, I've kind of looked weird at black pens. Probably not true, but I just don't know, okay?
I was about to make a really bad joke.
Toaster's timer and start flashing red if someone talks too long, or if we get off topic.
That's right. Anyway, moving on. What's hopes and dreams? Replace full-time income.
Mm-hmm.
I think the word freedom is going to play a large role in this page. I'm going to underline it. So just a quick poll in this room. Why did you guys join Autonomy? Like, what was the initial one word emotion that kind of pulled you in?
Entrepreneurship.
I'd say trivium or true methodical thinking to validate information.
Yeah, I was pretty much looking for something like along those lines, but I was really like coining it in a way where I was just looking for navigation, like a compass. Autonomy was the compass for me, or is the compass, I should say.
Like that.
I'm thinking community, like a community of people that are of similar mindset.
The community thing is a surprise bonus because we talked about this at length in season 1. Everybody came into Autonomy with certain hopes, whatever community, trivium method, thinking, logical thinking, reasoning, all of these goals, marketing. Nobody in season 1 expected community. Everybody thought, like, didn't even think about it. And then it was this amazing surprise that, oh my gosh, there's this community. And now that we're like excitedly and over the top talk about community, people are joining for community. But originally, that wasn't the case at all. They weren't thinking about it. So just keep in mind.
Well, I think that might be like supportive community or something like that, because to me, like even talking in the interview with Richard, there was like a level of support that I rarely hear, where he was actually saying things like, oh man, you're our kind of people, I really like those ideas you talked about, that kind of encouragement was really important. So encouragement might be the word that caught my attention.
One of the biggest surprises and bonuses would have been the unlimited access, the 24/7 ability for this community and access to the information.
Yeah, once you're submerged into the course, you get to realize how much of a value that is.
Yeah.
Right. Wasn't there when I just learning about it.
That's also kind of the development of a high trust environment too. And that's something that people rarely get an opportunity to do.
What I wrote just a minute ago while you guys were talking was autonomy, where enemies are friends.
That's
That's
good.
good. That's good.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit. Pablo, was that you?
No, I was just saying that's good.
But it's kind of true though, right? Because out in the real world, if somebody came with a completely opposing point of view, you'd be like, whoa, this person's weird. But in autonomy, it's like, no, they're still your friend. They just have an opposing point of view. And at first it's like, right.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I remember going through the Discord like right before like the season started, and I forget who it was, but someone was like, I can't remember who it was, but two people were like disputing something, and I was like, oh shit, like, there's some crossfire here. But then I got to realize like later on, like, oh, this is just how people, this is how it's done in the dojo.
Was it Kevin Cole and Joseph Ford?
I believe so. There it is.
At least it wasn't Eric Fairland and Ariel. That would be much worse.
I think I've seen him somewhere there too.
The last one wasn't so bad. That was just when he called me a dummy. But the ones before Eric was quite untamed.
Oh, that. Yeah, you got a good man. I read
Mhm.
that one. He really stuck up for you.
He was really offended.
For autonomy coming in, like I didn't have really even understand the definition of autonomy. I didn't even think about why it was named that. And I say entrepreneurial skills, but really to be autonomous, to be free from a paycheck. I think I used the term wage slave a lot coming into the course, to escape wage slavery, but also more to just be independent from establishment.
You know what I used to call it? Wage slavery when I was in it? Prostitution. You're selling yourself, right? Especially the way I did it. I went through agents. So I would go to the agency and sell myself to the agency, and then they would sell me to different offices and stuff. So what about something like what it means to be autonomous? And then we can bullet point.
So I recently picked up an 1828 dictionary at a thrift store, and I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, cool.
The starting point, yeah.
In regard to something that I've been talking to people here lately, because of just the fact that I've discovered this in the past few weeks with, the clinic and so forth, is what about this being a entrepreneurial kind of business class that they absolutely need to take? As far as I'm concerned, the stuff that I've really learned in the past few weeks really kind of gives me the confidence to suggest that this is probably the best business course out there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like that, for like the entrepreneurial, sector of the economy, this is pretty much a must-have, if you ask me.
Yeah, and it really is like a reconditioning or de-indoctrination. I don't know if you want to use that language, but it really comes down to a way of thinking. I don't know if that helps sell it.
Okay, here we go. Noah Webster's 1828 American Dictionary. Autonomy. This word is rarely used. It signifies the power or right of self-government, whether in a city which elects its own magistrates and makes its own laws, or in an individual who lives according to his own will.
Justin, would you be able to type that up somewhere?
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that'd be cool.
I think they'll live according to your own will.
It's funny. Was that Gus brought that up? Because on another note, Daniel, like what I was trying to say for Daniel's introduction was I was trying to say that he should put like a definition at the beginning for utopia or something like that. So I just like the idea of having like a definition to start off, kind of, just the understanding of what we're talking about.
I was thinking that too. Yeah.
I think the definition should be at the bottom of the page. Because if you get through all of our amazing copy and you're like, yeah, yeah. And then at the end, it's like, there's what autonomy is, fucker. In your face.
I think there is a certain level of respect that you're giving your reader by kind of defining what the premise is, right?
I
Like
concur. You have an
what
introduction
thought
to a
is.
book.
Yeah.
But we have to understand that what it is and what they need to see at the beginning are not the same thing, right? If you're selling bread, you don't want to tell people I'm selling bread, because that's not going to get you any sales. You need to tell people that, you need to waft the smell
Identify the
towards them.
problem.
You need to
Yeah.
make them feel like they're at
Concept.
grandma's house. You know what I mean? You have to sell those emotions. You can't be selling bread for selling bread. And same with autonomy. You can't be selling autonomy to get people into autonomy. You have to give them the feeling of how it feels to be autonomous, and then say, yeah, that feeling you're feeling right now, that's what autonomy is.
Yeah, I like that idea
Sure.
of
Yeah.
presenting the concept through like actual demonstration as opposed to a definition. I think the definition is really valuable, but if you lead with it, it sort of starts to come off like a book report of sorts.
Or
And
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, whereas really like laying it out without the definition up front, the definition I think is valuable. Just not leading with it and really demonstrating what it is and doing it that way, I think is something that might reach and speak a little bit more broadly.
Agreed.
I see it as like a stamp at the bottom of the page, like make it look like a stamp on an image and go, boom, autonomy.
Oh.
This is what autonomy is.
Well, because I think we are a different audience than the average audience that just responds to the emotional appeal. There's like an emotional part that certainly makes me feel good, but then there's also like the rational part that says, hold on a second, what's the details behind this? So I think.
But you have to
we do
remember
have
that
to,
only less than a
keep that
quarter
in
of
mind.
people are Emeraldy.
Okay, that's true.
And you still
Appreciate
made the
that
decision
perspective.
with your emotions. Like we'll address the emeraldiness too, right? But I'm just saying, like, we can't lead with facts and figures because most people are not emeraldy. And even the emeraldy people still make decisions with their emotions, not with their head. They explore the facts with their head, but when they actually sink the decision, it's through their heart.
Do we
Tell me
know what the percentage is of emeralds in autonomy versus the rest?
In autonomy? I don't know.
Yeah.
You could put up a survey.
Seems like it's mostly emeralds to me.
That's what I'm kind of thinking too.
Is that because of how autonomy has been sold? Or is it because emeralds are attracted to it?
I think the latter.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yep. It's because of how it's been sold, for sure.
Like, are the facts and figures that Richard presents particularly appealing to the emeralds? Like, I didn't come into autonomy because I heard autonomy. I heard Richard talking in my living room, and that's when I joined autonomy. because it was playing in the background and I wanted to talk.
Yeah, I was emotionally sold in the sense that I realized that there was something missing and this was a possible answer.
Yeah, same here.
I don't know if I'm the only one, but I specifically set out to find like entrepreneurship training. And I was a Richard Grove fan, but not aware of that. That's when autonomy came on my radar.
Well,
Oh,
you
no,
found it. But it's like looking for bread and finding a restaurant that gives you like everything with bread, like roast lamb, chicken, the whole meal and
Like
the
that.
salad and the cow. You can milk it later.
I don't know if anyone else shares, but it was, for me, it was more of a overcoming myself sort of thing. The entrepreneurship angles really spoke to me. They definitely resonated. They hit a lot of the notes that I was after. But the attraction itself was self-help, sort of learning how to get out of my own way, sort of thing. And the rest of it, as it was laid out, the entrepreneurship and the new skills, sort of they served to support that for me. They supported the case that this is a very real and possible solution for those problems through the benefits of entrepreneurship and community and that sort of thing.
see, Agnieszka, my email, what was it? The email I wrote the last time that would have worked for him. Remember, I was talking about stumbling over myself and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, also, I think as far as a business person is concerned, though, to me, it was a couple things that Richard said that really brought it home was like like the $1 investment equals $3 of, income. To me, that's something that every entrepreneur, every business person needs to know, that where is your best investment, and how do you evaluate that? Most businesses know how to deliver value, but they don't necessarily know how to market it. And I would say that probably 80 to 90% of the businesses that I've ever been involved with, and that's thousands, didn't know about how they market themselves. And so like creating that understanding of like how to bridge your solution to like your marketplace's problem is something that most of them didn't know. And some got lucky. I would say probably most got lucky to just stumble upon like some advertiser coming in and saying, hey, why don't you put an ad in our local newspaper or whatever.
Mhm.
Hey, do we have a working Google Doc? I need to start putting some of these sentences that I've been
I
pulling.
started by just capturing what was on the current page, but we could just start blank if that's easier.
I just thought that I might be able to.
What's there? It's good. Maybe I should just put my sentences in the chat.
Yeah, and I started just capturing some things in Evernote, but
Okay. What were you saying? Sorry.
So I just kind of thought that I might be able to narrow in on something that Michael was talking about in a business sense and take it back to an individual sense. Something of value I got on the call with Richard Grove in the beginning when I told him about my past job experience working customer service and with people, but then also working in an automotive shop. In the back, he made this link that I didn't even see, that I had the skill sets and foresight to do front of the house and back of the house operations and go to a business and tell them where money's just flying off their shelves. And yes, I do have those skills, but I didn't have the sight or the ability to really go and propose that information. So it works on an individual level as well.
Yeah. So people that are prospective entrepreneurs could essentially like work with other businesses to better their business, but like almost create like a partnership kind of situation, you know? So like helping small businesses get better for individual people. Yeah, that's a great idea.
You know, there's also this
Exactly.
big appeal of being able to work towards the solutions in the businesses and organizations that you want to support without directly trading your time and labor. You can offer a higher value towards the solutions you want to see in the world.
Well, the thing is like if a business, you know, like a business had the opportunity to have a couple of their employees train in autonomy, that would seem like a hell of a lot easier sell than even people like trying to convince people of like using disposable income that they may not have, because it could be a hell of a lot better investment for a business too, to
Right.
train up its employees.
I'm putting the link to the working document in the chat as well.
So like even if businesses approached us for work and we just can't handle it, we might be able to enlist them in a few students into the program for like a more long-term approach. That's actually a short-term approach, but
Yeah, that the business development engine. That was a concept that I think may or may not be applicable here.
got a lot of selling points.
Why don't we just move on with like starting with the headline or
Yeah.
a couple of headlines
Mm-hmm.
and just typing up the sentences that I got from the discussion a minute ago. But what were you thinking, Kara?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about like a variation of this for calling out your audience. So, I mean, this is pretty effective and has been working really well on this, but we don't want to just copy and paste. We could make a variation of that, but
That is kind of good.
you know, just bring it over.
Yes. Maybe you could change leverage the tools for success to something better.
Mm-hmm.
Escape mediocrity. I don't know.
Okay.
Level up, next level.
Mm-hmm.
Empower themselves.
Or just leverage their own potential.
That's good.
Full potential. Leverage their full potential. Reach your full potential.
Maximize.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Maximize could be good. Oh. Suppose this would have to be there. Or just seems job seekers,
What
entrepreneurs.
if we did something? Do you guys see my note there? What if we did something about like You want to replace full-time income, pay debts, get more personal flexibility, and get freedom, or ready to replace full-time, something like that. So it's less similar to the other page.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. I'm typing some more.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it's either going to have to be maximize their potential or reach their full potential. I don't know if you want to drop the full.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's grammatically correct.
Yeah.
And what about referring to them as their? Like, why don't we say your?
That's what I did at first.
Because it's all about you, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely personalized.
I don't know, if we want to impress somebody, we wouldn't use the same headline as the other page.
Yeah, I agree. What do you guys think about maximize your potential or reach your full potential?
I think both are overused.
Maybe like access or tap into.
Tap into your superpower.
Uncover. Yeah.
Attention job seekers, entrepreneurs, and leaders. If you're comfortable with mediocrity, autonomy is not for you.
I love that. That's awesome.
Because it's easier to say who it's not for. That's
Yeah.
a group.
Well, that also helps to get those that are interested off the fence,
Spell this wrong.
because they know what they don't want.
Yeah, constant qualification of the market, weeding people out.
There's also something very Sabri Subi about that sentence, like he's telling you.
Yeah, honestly, I think there is something to telling people they're wrong, and then you know, them assuming something, but then coming back with something positive. That is like a full experience, and I'm seeing it more and more.
Mm-hmm.
You have the problem. Here's the solution.
Mm-hmm. I liked the idea, I can't remember who said it, but about the compass, about autonomy being like a compass.
Right, like a navigation, like
How about like a gold, like what's that? Like a metal detector where you're finding gold where the treasure is. That kind of an image.
cool analogy.
I like it, but I'm thinking, what were the rules we're following for the big? Oh, I have access to this document. Make a giant promise.
Well, first, so this is our calling. Yeah, actually, I think you're right. So we called out our audience, and so we demand their attention with a big promise headline.
Kind of a promise, a compass of freedom.
This will help you unleash your superpowers.
Say that again.
Unleash your superpowers.
I'm gonna put that in your notes document. Because then we still need to do a like another kind of a sub headline that'll be backing up.
Look at my
The big
notes.
promise.
Look at my notes.
Oh, we've got notes. We've got notes.
I was excited. So it's not all good, but it's just whatever I was writing while we were talking, and some of it somewhat good. Oh, it was supposed to be stale. not sale.
Oh, good. I was wondering about that.
There's a T. There you go. Sorry about that.
I like that. I
I
could
think
see
it
that.
could be phrased better, but the concept is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
From rot, free yourself from rot of your own brain. This nothingness, falling apart under your own inaction and consuming of the media as you
The
become.
ultimate entrepreneurship
Man.
dojo training for the freedom seeker. That's pretty good. That's all the way at the bottom of your notes. But you don't want to focus on entrepreneurs, I think, right?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, we can mix them.
Ready to overcome your own shit?
I think there is something to
Like
that
that.
rot of your brain thing, because
Mhm.
I have talked to a lot of people, and they're like really, I mean,
Stupid.
some of,
I mean,
a lot of the people that are anarcho-poco, goers, and, they're expressing this, real exhaustion of like having to deal with idiots, and just like people
idiocracy.
just being unable to process,
Yeah, and that
Definitely
crowd
think
is
that's,
growing with,
yeah,
I'll just say free masks, for example. The number of people that maybe have no intellectual self-defense as to why they're not wearing one, but they're just not going to wear one, and they don't want to look at anyone wearing one. And there's more and more people like that I encounter. So that's a big group, and they would be
Mhm.
yeah,
interested.
yeah.
Intellectual
And
self-defense.
that's actually, with Agnieszka's expertise, the fact that like people can't connect with each other because they're wearing masks, that's like a human need that's not being satisfied. And,
No masks required.
if they know it or they don't, if they know it or don't know it, subconsciously they know it.
Well, then there's that picture of that slave that bothers me too with the mask on. Have you guys seen that?
No.
Mm-mm.
Show you. You guys ever notice the Dropbox is faster on the internet than on your own computer? Like for me to open folders on my computer is slower than to open the internet browser thing.
I don't know if it fits here, but learning intellectual self-defense in our dojo.
I was going to say in that last comment, the ultimate entrepreneurship dojo could just
Mhm.
be the ultimate intellectual dojo.
Intellectual self-defense dojo, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you kind of define intellectual self-defense for them.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that, I got a guest here at the house from England, and I've been talking to, they're like a big, uh, gun nut to some degree, but I've been talking to him about intellectual self-defense, and, it seems like it's fairly difficult for him to really grasp the concept.
Yeah, for some people you hear that term and it immediately resonates. It did for me. But others, yeah, they're just, it doesn't make sense. What's that?
I like the idea also of the think tank, like joining a pool of like consciousness or a pool of like excellence or something like that.
A liberty think tank, or
Yeah, think tank or mastermind group.
Or a space to utilize the First Amendment to its highest capability.
I like think tank, but that's cool too. But lots of words. Make it shorter.
like mastermind is a word that, like people that have read Think and Grow Rich. So like if they know who Napoleon Hill is, they probably know the word mastermind, but I don't know how many people that is. It's probably not many.
One,
Percentage.
one lady on Facebook was complaining that her hairdressers refusing to wear masks. And she's like, I don't understand why somebody would be like that. And so I sent her that picture of the slave. Like, maybe this is why.
Yeah.
Funny.
No, sorry. Go ahead, Pablo.
No, I was just talking to my wife today. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to see people with a mask. The tan line of a mask. Like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to talk to them without like. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
But that's how you're going to be able to know who you can speak to freely.
There it is.
Because those with like a mask or a tan line from a mask, you're like, okay, you're a sheep.
I'm grateful.
See that?
Or ill. They could legitimately be deathly ill, but the mask doesn't really protect them. So in any case, if somebody's that ill, we don't need to awaken them. Let's awaken the ones without the masks.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Either that, or we can start strangling them with their own masks. No. Okay, never mind.
Just the word mask is so political now. Maybe
No, that's what I was going to say too.
You know what Dennis was calling it on Raising Excellence? The masquerade. But he said it like that. The current masquerade.
That's good.
I like the addition of liberation. That's a strong word right there.
What text on the page are we working for now? We've got that big title. Are these just bullet points for underneath?
Yeah, I've been kind of just capturing what we've got kind of going on in here. Yeah, just kind of capturing the brainstorm right now.
Don't you guys think that liberation and freedom are the same thing, though? Couldn't we make it more like, because liberation and freedom, I can be free living under a bridge, but this is liberation, like lucrative
Financial
liberation. What
liberation
about
and financial
lucrative
freedom.
liberation? That's an onomatopoeia. No, that's not an onomatopoeia. What's the one where it sounds, one sounds like the other? I forget.
To me,
I
liberation
do think
has the
liberation
sense of,
speaks more broadly.
I feel like liberation breaks into freedom.
So liberation and what? Or what and liberation?
I think someone mentioned financial.
I
which
think,
is
like I
one
said,
of the big things, right?
Yeah,
The
I think that
compass
would be
to
something
financial
that
liberation?
It's not just financial, though.
Right.
Financial freedom and liberation of the mind.
You know, if you just say liberation, though, I feel like that word, it just doesn't mean anything. It's not, I mean, myself included, right? Freedom, liberation, they're just like, but if you add the word financial, you've got their attention.
Right.
Financial liberation and what? Then?
I don't know if financial liberation works though, because you don't hear that.
Like,
Okay, so what would be better?
so I mean, if we're going with financial, I think maybe financial freedom.
Yeah.
And liberation of the mind?
Financial independence.
Hmm.
Or what is it that Dan Locke says? I don't like Dan Locke, but there was one term that he had coined, financial, I'll look it up.
Sorry.
I like that financial independence. I think that kind of works with that freedom or liberation. And it's, freedom is a word that has kind of been screwed up with, because like a lot of people associate with free, and anybody that thinks things are free, obviously.
Dan Locke actually says, don't say financial independence, say financial confidence to build, to achieve freedom. And that made sense to me, right? Your financial confidence, you can just go out and you can make money when you need it. It's not about so much being financially independent.
I like that, financial confidence.
Yeah, I like that distinction too.
I'm in as well.
So what do you guys think now? I think it's more powerful now.
Yeah, that's
more specific too. Like
Yeah.
what's freedom? What liberation?
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good promise too, honestly.
That is a huge promise.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
I like this for like backing up the big promise headline.
Yeah, because that's their part. Okay, we promise you all this, but you still have to do your work,
Mm-hmm.
asshole. No. I'm just being contentious. I'm sorry.
Oh, you never.
Mike says he's going to train me to be nice. I stand up.
I didn't say that. I said I was going to give you some choices.
Oh, I always have choices. I just don't make the right one most of the time.
So I'd like to play around with.
It's nice to know you have options.
I like the idea of this, but just the take charge of your present. It seems like it's like hanging, like it's left hanging.
Yeah, it was sort of like an idea. I wanted to say that in one word. How can you, hey, Eric, are you in headphones? How can you say take charge of your present in one word? You're the wordsmith. Come on.
Take charge of your life. Take charge of your success.
Emancipation, is that the word?
And
Actually,
emancipate yourself from society.
I like the take charge though. It's empowering. So, you know, free yourself from stale and helpless thinking and take charge. It's just a really empowering start to this.
What about just that? Take charge. Just period after take charge.
yeah.
Well, take charge of your direction and intensity.
Yeah, yeah, and 15 horses and 17 mules. But what about just if we look at it at take charge? We can add that later, but I'm just saying.
Good starting place.
And then we can talk about the things you listed underneath in the next paragraph, what we're taking charge of.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be in that sentence, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I was kind of thinking maybe we could say what it means to be autonomous right under that, and then have some.
So, because I would see this as being, so let's like look at a visual, right? So that would be all that's contained up in this blue block. So then we would go into a new section. So we can think of that, we can think of this as essentially being done, and now we can move on to like a new section. So we could start off next one with what it means to be autonomous.
Oh, what is personal autonomy? And then buttons, boom, boom, boom. Let's come up with a few buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Too late, we already passed that. You're slow.
He just racked his brain for 10 minutes.
And then he said, what do you want to say anyway? That was his answer. You know, if he at least came back with carpe diem, but no. Take charge for your present. A synonym for that would be carpe diem.
Bring closure to your open thought loops. Find traction in your personal direction.
What's the second one?
Find
Second
traction.
part.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, just finding traction in the direction you want to move.
Find, not finding, but yeah.
That's a good point.
Because they all have to be.
What is your know your best investment?
You are your own best investment.
Yeah.
No, but you know your own.
There's a weird thing about the word know, K-N-O-W, that some people say that the brain interprets it as no and like shuts down. I don't know if it's true, but we can easily use the word understand and not run into some weirdness.
Yeah, that might be right.
Understand yourself as your greatest asset.
Understand you are your own greatest asset. Or yourself as your, do you guys like that better?
I like that one.
Agnieszka, where did you learn that little factoid about the word no?
Psychosomatic therapy.
What is it?
Psychosomatic therapy. It's
Okay.
the Australasian College of Psychosomatic Therapy and Body Mind Analysis. They did a lot of weird language things that I don't know if are true, but sometimes it seems to work. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you try it out one way and the other, I don't know, there often seems to be, but maybe I'm biased.
I I don't know if we should erase the other one that was about investment, because I think that's a whole nother concept,
I was mixing
which
up
is
asset and investment in my head, and I was just going on autopilot. Thanks for pointing that out.
okay. Thank you.
That's why there is a group.
Appreciate it. You're welcome.
I love that good old Control Z, undo.
Well, maybe it could be like, because understand you are your own greatest asset, and then you are your own best investment. Maybe
Maybe
where
that could
you
be the
gotta,
first
like,
and the last.
there's got to be a different front end to that, maybe.
We'll move them around.
So there's also
And we need a verb in front of freedom. Gain freedom on your own terms.
Realize freedom on your own terms.
Realize you're
I
your own
like that.
asset, I think.
Realize you're your own greatest asset.
I think that one.
I like that better than understand too.
Yeah, me too. And I'm almost not sure about the top one. You are your own best investment. I think maybe that should be a subheading underneath what is personal autonomy.
I can go another like 15 minutes max, but we're already at 1:00. Holy crap.
So we need to have either 5 or 3 points underneath in the bullets. We can't have 4. And not because it's death in Chinese culture.
One more.
I did that.
It's a missing piece in here. I think maybe like the intellectual self-defense is something that could be. So what is personal autonomy?
Ooh, intellectual self.
What about the community aspect though? That's a pretty big one that I don't know. Is that a selling point though?
I was just gonna bring that in, talk about that.
Well, and here's something to think about too, is that the community aspect can pretty much be like its own section. So I guess I'm just kind of thinking about this in terms of that headline. What is personal autonomy? What do you guys think?
Right.
Well, what about being surrounded by, that idea of like having that access to, a community of
Decentralized.
like minds.
Yeah, like an open source, decentralized community, right? Because that's like autonomous. Like you could be you're your own, autonomous individual, but you come back into like this whole macrocosm or aspect of it.
Platform for open source learning, going back to John Taylor Gatto.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, that's good. What was the Taylor Gatto quote? What you got there?
Oh, open source learning.
Yeah.
I put one in there. We should probably cut down or cut out. I was just brainstorming.
Would you think that that's so? These are answering the question of what is personal autonomy.
Right. So that's probably not the right place to put it. I don't know. I just had an idea and I wanted to write it down. But something about what is Because I think that the testing, the dojo, is important for gaining autonomy, but maybe you're right. Maybe true.
Well, that's kind of self-assertiveness. That is certainly something that I think a lot of people are gaining, is that self-assertiveness.
Kind of like exercising something, right? Like exercising your personal something.
Mhm.
Man, I'm definitely getting hooked on copywriting here. You guys.
Yay.
We can move that sentence out completely. But what do you guys think about assert yourself in the dojo?
Do you think that, like, do we need to make more context on what we mean by the dojo this far along?
Probably.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Probably
Oh.
should go lower, but you know, I keep fighting for my sentence.
What's your sentence?
Assert yourself in the dojo with the power of community.
Yeah, I mean, the practice is an important part of developing skills for autonomy. I don't know if you want to fit that in there somehow.
What if the premise is wrong? What if what is personal autonomy is not the question? What if how do you gain personal autonomy?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Mhm.
Except for not so ghetto, how you gain personal autonomy.
Well, and I liked what we were talking about of, like, what does it mean to be autonomous?
I think I'd like it to be more like, how can you seize personal autonomy? How can you direct yourself towards personal autonomy? You know what I mean? Like, you're in charge and you're taking the step to gain, to seize your own personal autonomy. So how can you do it? Here's some steps
Mhm.
we can help you with.
How can you realize?
Yeah, I like that.
Nice.
I don't know if your is necessary there. How can you realize personal autonomy?
Would it be too much to add on in your life? Maybe not necessary.
We could put in your life, comma, you are your own best investment. But I do think that it's probably totally my fault. We're mixing how we can realize personal autonomy with what the course can do for us,
Mm.
or what the course did.
Mm.
I think we might have to have a couple more of these meetings.
Yeah. But this is a good starting place too. And then I'd love for, like, everybody to do some brainstorming on your own time, and we can reconvene and bring some of these together. Because I don't know how everybody else works, but I don't always work so well, like, in the moment. Oftentimes I need some time to kind of, like, sit and stew in it and think a little bit and brainstorm. So I don't know. How do you guys feel?
That's kind of cool, because I never realized when I brought you that stuff yesterday that you did that, but intuitively I did anyway, and just cool. Anyway, yeah, absolutely. And I think that we can all, like, put notes on the side too, if we want to.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Everyone's got access to this document. I mean, this is our brainstorm working document. Nobody but us with the link are going to be checking it out, you know? So we can kind of go nuts in here and then clean it up together.
Cool.
So when should we reconvene?
Indeed, when?
Trying to think, because we've got so many things going on. I mean, we could work on this at the clinic. I don't know. I mean, I like the core group that we have in this meeting right now, though. I'm hesitant to, because this has been a good start. We've been over an hour. We've been doing some brainstorming. We're all kind of on the same page, have an idea of where we're going with this. So I'm hesitant on kind of opening it up as like a free-for-all beyond this. I'm open to feedback on that, but sometimes too many minds can kind of become like a clusterfuck.
Yeah,
Is that what's happening here?
No.
Second your motion.
Seconds your motion. Okay. Let's put it to a vote. Everybody forces yay. Or closing the group. Let's be clear. Everybody on keeping this groups in this thing, say yay. Or raise your hand. No, I don't see everybody. Nobody says anything. Anybody for opening the group to everybody else? Nobody's voting.
I think there's merit to getting input. I just don't think it's necessary for a bunch of individuals to be on the same call. You know, that boardroom meeting effect where people end up talking over each other and
But
ideas
honestly,
get sort of washed out.
the people here are pretty much the same people that come into the other meetings too.
That is true.
So I don't know if there's much difference, honestly. Like one or two difference.
We could just utilize our Saturday time and continue with this if we want for the clinic. But because I honestly, and I know on Saturday, my plan for the clinic was to, go over any audience research that people have done throughout the week, but I haven't locked in the next topic. So.
Okay, well, nobody voted for closed things, so we got an open thing. And let's do it. And then, so that means that let's do homework then. So for Saturday, let's bring a paragraph of how autonomy has impacted our lives, like the benefits from our life, from being part of autonomy. And if each of us brings a paragraph, we'll be able to have a few sentences ourselves. And also any other thoughts can be put in the notes in this doc.
And I would add even, either, it could be and or, but a paragraph or bullet points.
However you style your paragraph is up to you.
Question was how does autonomy
benefits, not features. However you want to phrase it. How has autonomy impacted your life? What benefits you've gotten out of autonomy? How's your life different today than it was whenever you started? Because my God, your schedule is sure busier.
Well, I think that's, you're teaching a course, but you're also farming the ideas. So I think that's a beautiful, double use scenario where you're just being more thoughtful about how you're using your time. So I think it's a great idea.
But we can't put that on the document. Autonomy, well, we're going to farm your brain.
No, but it's, essentially we're creating more assets for our time.
Hey, our brains were partly laying fallow anyway before autonomy. Now we can actually use more of our brains. So it's all benefits all the time.
All right. Everybody clear on their homework?
Any questions?
No, I think this is a great jump off.
Got a question for Kara.
Sure.
What are you doing on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern? I need a leadership, ethics, and organizational interview subject. Are you willing to do that?
The timing is not that great for me. Wednesday, so that's tomorrow. I have to think about it, Mike. I
Very
gotta
good.
look at my
That's-
schedule and
that's-
stuff.
That's good enough for me.
Okay. All right. Well,
Thank you, Kara.
yeah, thank you guys.
You're a wonderful copy boss.
Aw, well, thanks.
Amen.
You're an amazing, amazing support system, Agnieszka, and I appreciate you.
Happy to do it.
All right, everybody.
It was fun.
It was fun.
A good time.
Yeah,
Really enjoyed it. Nice.
cool.
And check out that poem from the guy in the clubhouse. It's awesome.
Yeah. I
Or
love
on the
that.
COVID server. Or text me if you don't have access.
All right, guys. Talk to you later. I will post, I've been recording this, so just for us here, I'll post it in the copywriting room, the replay, so you can all check it out if you need to before we meet again on Saturday. Cool. All right, bye, everybody.
Get easy.